In this video, we're going to focus on how we can customize our tooltip. As you can see here, as I hover over these points here, we get this tooltip here showing nicely. And let's look at it, what you can see. You can see here the year, you can see some additional information. You can see here there's a comparison between renting and buying a house. And you can see in the moment we cross this line here, buying will save you X amount of dollars. And you can see here also the amount. And then same here, if I go back here, you can see here renting will be cheaper compared to buying a house with $23. Of course, it's all fictional. So let's start to explore how to do this. So let's start to explore how to create a custom tooltip with the Canvas API in Chart.js. And what we're going to do is basically this structure here. I hope you're able to see it here. This is basically what I got in my email picture. And specifically this tooltip here. I will not focus on this, but if you want to know this, I have another video for that. I'll show you that in the description box. You can find the link of this one. But this is what we're going to focus on. How do we create this? And this is a view customized with the shadow box around here. So let's start to work on this. So the first thing what we need to do is go to chartjs3.com, getting started. And you can find this link also in the description box. Scroll down here and just copy this entire chunk of code. And if you want to understand what this does, make sure you watch this video here, which explains it all. So I'm going to paste all of this in here, then cut out that and put that in here. So save that, refresh. So there we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two data sets here, basically identical to this here. We have two of these items. And then we have this crossing point here, which is the break-even point. And then that break-even point will help us to give us a certain value where we have the difference between the two here, showing here how much we would save if we would buy a property or how much we would save if we would rent a house. So it's one or the other. So let's start and first of all convert this into a line chart. Say line here. And next I want to duplicate this. Copy this. Put a comma here, there we are, and then we can say here this is rent, and I'll make this blue, rent blue, and then here buy red. Alright, so once I have this, I want to get only this color here for the upper one, which is the red color. So just do that, same story here. And for the blue one, it's the second color, so I want to remove everything except the second color. So, and then probably you could even do this solid, I guess that would be even better. If I save that, go back here, refresh. Alright, so now it's here, you can see we have these two, but they are still together. So let's remove this border width to make it more thicker, but also give it different numbers. So what I'm going to do is I say here 100, and then I'll make here 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and finally 106. And this one, it's an increment of 20, 40, and then here 60, 80, 100, 120, and then 140. As you can see here, we are crossing basically the line the moment here, or this point here from 104 and 120. So if I save this, refresh, alright, that looks beautiful. So now what I want to do here is I just want to do some tiny adjustments identical to what we had here in this picture. We can put in here this circle here for the border. So I'm going to scroll down here and it's going to do some options here. Then in here, what I want to do eventually is just the basics. What we're going to do, let me check. We can do here first of all, I guess the hover color, or at least here when we hover. So I'm going to say here, hover background color should be white, and save this, go in here, let's see if I hover over this. Alright, now it becomes white, so this works. And then what I want to do is I want to increase the point radius. So we're going to increase the point radius. So in here, enter, and then we can say here, well probably it's the, first of all, the point radius will be 0. This is what we call 0, save that. You can see this I want to remove. Alright, so identical to this, you can see just a straight line. And then what I want to do is when we hover over it, so we go say here, the point, and then hover radius will be equal to 7 pixels. And now we can say here, the point border, what is it, the point hover border width, that's the right term. It's 3 pixels, save that, let's see if that works. So when we hover over it here, and you can see here, oh, it's quite tough to reach this, but you can see here the border is big. Alright, so what I want to do as well is the point, or the point area, or the hit radius. Basically, when we are going on here, we have to be now really precise on it. That doesn't make sense. So what I want to do this here is, of course, the what we call here the point hit radius. And this will be just 10 pixels. If I save this, make sure you have a comma and save. Refresh. If I hover over here somewhere, there you are. You can see automatically it will pop up. That is much better. Alright, so we have all of this now here. And I think we're done here now. Oh, almost. What I want to do is I want to trigger them both. Very similar here. Let's look at the picture. When we hover on one, we should have both of them being shown. So what we need to do here is we're going to look at interactions. And then interactions in the options. And then we're going to say here, this will be the mode, and the mode will be index. And the index is, of course, a string value. Save this, refresh, go back here. Alright, so did I save it correctly? Mode will be index. Let me double check. Oh, alright, sorry, it's not interaction, it is interaction without the S. Save that, refresh, and now if I hit over it, there you are. So you can see here it will show immediately both. So now we have this, and what I want to do next is basically focus specifically on this part here, which is a rounded rectangle, basically, around the border, and this nice shadow. What I'm going to do is I will not make it dynamic, and that might be another video, but I'm going to position it here at the bottom because we have a lot of space. And what I want to do, once we hover over here, we're going to remove eventually this tooltip, but right now we're going to keep it as our sample. But what I want to do is exactly same here. You have the circle here, we have the rent, we have space and the values. We say here 25 years or the years, which would be at the bottom. And then I realized that we need to just do that one. Instead of the days, we're going to convert this to years. We're going to say here year 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to copy this, paste that in there, paste that in there, paste that in there. And then paste that in there, space, and finally paste. And then here I'll say 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now we have that, and we have now the years being shown at the bottom. Alright, let's start to work on the tooltip, and this will be the most advanced part. So in here, in the options, we put a comma here. I'm going to say plugins, and then the plugins, we're going to say here, let's say here, custom tooltip. This will be a real custom tooltip built in the canvas itself. So we're going to say here up above the configuration block, we're going to say custom tooltip block, and then this is basically a plugin. So we're going to say constant custom tooltip. And then here we'll say ID, I'll just maintain this identical. And then here is the drawing time. And the drawing time is very important. Basically, it will indicate when would we want to draw it. And it will impact if we will be on top or not. But you can see with the tooltip will always be on top of everything else. So no lines should overrule the tooltip or should be overlapping on top of the tooltip. The tooltip must be the last item that we can see. And everything else should be behind the tooltip. So that's what we're going to do. So that will mean, well, our timing is after draw. So meaning the following, we draw the entire chart, and after that's done, we're going to draw the tooltip. So we're going to say here chart, which is one of the parameters that we need. The others are not necessary. And then we're going to do here the following. So in here, let's do a semicolon here. In here, we're going to start working on it. And what we want to do here is, well, let's see. We want to have here, first of all, the constant for the object destruction. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say here, this, because this is an object destruction, and object destruction means if you have an object here, you want to split them out into multiple pieces and get the item, so we don't have to use, for example, chart dot, if we want to have chart dot chart area, something like that. Instead of that, we can just say, I want to just cut this out, just say here chart area, and then we just can use the chart area itself. So what I want to do here as well is a CTX. That's one of the most important ones. And then what we need is, well, let's see. What we're going to do next is, well, we need a lot of items. We need the tooltip as well. We need the scales, and we need the chart area, and the chart area should have the following: colon, top, bottom, left, right, width, and height. And I'm going to recommend you to watch. If you don't understand what chart area is, go watch my video about understanding the chart area. You can do so much with chart area only if you just know how and understand what it really does. Very powerful tool. So what we're going to do next is here, of course, I said the tooltip. Make sure you have a comma here. So we say tooltip, comma, we're going to get the scales. And in the scales, we want the X and Y coordinates of our scales, because that will be later on very important. So now we have probably everything that we need. And we can remove the things we don't need afterwards. However, having them just ready here is just useful for us right now. So in here, what I'm going to do now is, well, we can just see what do we need to do. I would say here, we're going to work basically with the hover effect. And when we hover, I want to show here something. So that will mean that we need to use a tooltip feature here. So let me just show you. I'm going to say your tooltip. And then let's make this a console log. Save that. Refresh. Open up developer tab. Alright, so now we get all of this here. This is the tooltip. But what is important is our active here. Right now, it has a length of 0. But if I hover over it, and then go down here, you should be able to see it somewhere. However, it is quite tough to find. And the reason why is, if you want to show immediately like this, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to put this here, dot, save that, refresh. Now you can see here we only have a length of 0, but if I hover over it and the tooltip appears, we get now a length not of 0, but we get a length of 2. Or, sorry, not a length of 1, but length of 2. The reason why is because we do now index. Index would indicate that we show always the 2 items immediately. That's why we have this here, identical to this here. Of course, we need this data in here. This is for me the most important one. We have the elements, we have here what is it, the colors if I'm not mistaken. The element, the index we have here, we have the parse value, the raw. We give all this information that is very useful for us. So what I'm going to do now is start working with that. However, first of all, I want to make sure, because with this, it will help us. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to say just active 0. If I save this now, and then if I hover over an item, you can see it will show a specific one. And if I hover over the white space, it shows nothing. You get here an undefined if, because of this here. If I hover over it here, and then if I move away, that tooltip will disappear. And that tiny seconds of disappearing creates the undefined. But that's acceptable. That's the only thing that will happen. But and that's very acceptable. That will not give us an error. But it will give us an error if we hover over here on the white space and it cannot find a certain value. So now what I want to do is then the following. I'm going to create an if statement. And this if statement will be very simple. Say if this active, meaning if we have at least one length in our tooltip. And then what I want to do here is very straightforward. I'm going to make a very basic rectangle. And later on I'm going to fine tune and make it really nice. The most important thing right now is just to show you we have an item. So I'm going to say here CTX. Remember here CTX. This will allow us to draw in the canvas because the CTX is a reference to this specific item here. Get element by ID my chart. Because in which canvas I want it to draw? In the my chart canvas, which is here up, this one here. So what I'm going to do here then, CTX, and then I'm going to say here fill style for giving a full background color, and then I'll just make this black. Very simple right now. Later on I'm going to adjust that. And then CTX, and I'll say here fill rectangle, and the rectangle will have basic shape. However, it doesn't matter too much, and don't worry too much about that. I'm going to just say 10 pixels. We start 10 pixels from the X, we start 10 pixels from the Y, and then we're going to make 50 pixels in width and 50 pixels in height. So it will be just a square. So if I refresh now, and if I hover over it, there you are, and gone. Alright? So that's the thing I need. That square that being triggered here or there or wherever we hover over the item. Very important because that is what I really care about. Everything else will not matter. The shape here, of course, that doesn't look nice, but don't worry. Let's start to work on that. So the first thing what we're going to do then is here we're going to create what I would say the rounded borders. And the rounded borders is based on this. Well, basically it is, let's look here, rounded border here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this trick, and that makes it easier. But of course there are other ways to do it that is maybe more professional. But I want to give you the easiest way for now. If you're reading for more professional, I have a whole Canvas series about how to learn and how to draw this stuff. So that's very useful if you want to customize items in Chart.js. However, I'm going to do for the easy way because many people are probably not interested or have the full understanding of how to do it. So I'm going to give you the easiest way to do it. So in here, I'm going to say your ctx.begin path. This would give us the command to draw something. What exactly? We don't know, but this is the starting point. So we say, all right, I'm going to draw something. And then what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to say a ctx.move_to. And this move to will indicate where we're going to move our shape. Right now the shape is here. I don't want that. I want to move it here somewhere. So this would be probably, if I look here in the width, it will be about 700 by 700 in width and then 350 in height. So if we are probably halfway, so we could say maybe here, let's say this would be about 450 pixels by, if you're going down, is how many pixels? Maybe 150 pixels about, approximately, at least passing the half. So I will not make it any dynamic item. So if you want like this, like these dynamic tooltips, in the near future I probably will make videos for that. Now I don't want to do that, or at least I'm still learning how to do this correctly. Anyway, what we're going to do here, 450 pixels by 150 pixels, and then what I want to do is, so this is the following. We have this. We're going to start here. So if I would do here now just a line tool, very simple line tool, and let's say here 455 by 55. If I save this, and I'm going to remove this here, and I'm going to say a ctx. This is a line, so we're going to say stroke. Alright, so this is very important because we want to draw a line. And then what I want to do here as well, I realized I forgot about that, ctx.stroke, which is the line style, indicating the border color of our item. So what will our border color be? Well, in this case, I'll make it black, but later on I'll convert it into a white one, similar to this, because I want to have like that shadowy effect around it. That will help us later on. So save this right now, just for demo purposes, and it's easy to see. Alright, so where is that item? Surprisingly, I don't even see it. So or is it? Did I miss it maybe? Alright, I see it's here somewhere. That's why you were not able to see it. There you are. So it's there. And you can see it goes, that's very tiny down. So this is the starting point. But what I want to do now is I want to go down a X amount. So let's say here we're going down 600 pixels. And then from that 600 pixels, what I want to do here is we will stay. Oh, sorry, I don't want this. Sorry, I want to have here 450 pixels, but I want to go down. If I want to go down here, how many pixels I need to go down? About, let's say, 300 pixels. So we're going to make a straight line down. Refresh. If I hover here, you can see now we have a straight line. So now what I want to do is line going there. And then what I do is just copy this, put that in there. And then we're going to say here, now we're going more to the right. To go to the right, we need to increase the amount of pixels here, because we're working with the pixels, and remember here, this is the width. So if 400 pixels equals here, of 450, and we're going to 600 pixels, it should be somewhere here probably. So let's do that one. We say 600. If I save that, refresh. There we are. Alright, so we go down here, and then it goes here. And then let's go up again. So once we go up, I'm going to copy this again. Then all we have to do here now is up 600 we stay, because we want to have a straight line up, and then we do here 150. If I save that, refresh, there we are. So now the final item is, well, we could basically go back here, but there's another easier way to do it. I'm going to put here enter, and then what I'm going to say here, oh, just here below, and then we say here ctx.close path, meaning that we want the canvas to be intelligent enough to figure out how the shape will look like, because you already know, we'll just make a straight line here, and we'll close it. This white space here has been closed now. So that's number one. What I want to do now is, of course, to increase the width of this. So I'm going to say here ctx, and then we're going to say a stroke, or sorry, not stroke, but line width. And let's say line width can be here, I think 10 pixels. That will be fine. Save that. Move over. Alright. So now what I want to do is to put the edges here. So because we have a line with all these connections, what we call the line caps. Basically this. If I go here, you can see the corners. These caps can be converted and the line joins. So it could be the joints. Then we're going to cover and probably the caps as well, but let's check. So probably we're going to say, or well, first of all we say here line join. We say line join will be round. So we want rounded shapes for the corners. So if I refresh here, alright, so that looks already nice. Then I guess the line cap is not necessary because the cap would be only for the sides here like that. I guess that's not necessary. So you can see here the line joints are working nicely. So now we have this here. What I want to do next, of course, is I need to convert this eventually into a white shape. I'm going to say white, but then what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to say here ctx.shadow, and the shadow color will be equal to black. Once I did that, if I save that and refresh, if I hover over it, alright, so you don't see anything here. Maybe you see very lightly the item, but you don't see the color yet. Why? Because we didn't indicate how many pixels the blur will be. So you say your shadow blur. And the shadow blur here, let's make this 15 pixels. Save this. Refresh. Move over it. There we are. Alright, so you can see here what is happening. Everything else starts to suddenly get this neon light effect. Of course, that's not what I wanted. Although it looks very fancy, but it can be very confusing for users. I only wanted it on the specific tooltip. So what I'm going to do here is the following. And this is very important. This is the only thing we have to do here. And even though I try to close path and restore, like ctx.restore, it does not work. So what we have to do here, well, we can do the restore here. Let's see if this will be triggered, but I think not. No, you can see. So what we can do here, that's the solution here. Get this. So once everything has been drawn, so we're going to close the path, we draw the lines, restore, we say shadow blur back to 0. So it's like we force it back to 0, refresh. There we are. So now we have this, but if you look very carefully, the inner part is undesirable with a shadow. Don't worry. What we're going to do in the inner part, we're going to make it a white rectangle so you will not notice anything inside. So that will be the next one. So basically we have a rounded border done. So we're going to say here the next part would be the white rectangle. Luckily the white rectangle is very, very similar to what we have here. So first of all I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to say here, paste that. And then what I want to do here is, well, you get here the white, copy that, put it in there. And then let's indent that properly. We can probably say, let's grab all of this here, and move to all up to restore. Paste that in there. Let's save that, and then we're going to refresh and see what we have. Alright, nothing of course. Why? I forgot to give it first of all background color, because right now it has no background color. It only has a border color, so we don't want that. So it does exactly the same. So we're going to say a fill style for the border color. Then we're going to say a fill, save, refresh. Then we're going to hover. There we are. So now we have this beautiful rectangle that is with a rounded border, or square with rounded borders. So now what we can do is start working on the data. Let's look at the data. We have here this gray text, 25 years, that buying will save, or at least this will depend if we are passing the break even or not, or are we before the break even. So then here, well, let's see what we have more. Then we have these items here. Alright, so let's start with the very, very beginning, because now we're going to go to the most advanced item. So, in here, what we want to do here is the following. Well, maybe we could do is, we will do the circles first. Let's do the circles. Circles, alright, so that's properly spelled. And then we're going to say a constant. And this is very important. We're going to say a radius. And the radius will be equal to 7.5 pixels. I don't want it too big. 7.5 is fine. Because why? A radius times 2 equals the diameter. That's the right term. The diameter. So, what we're going to do, that's the first one. So that's twice the radius, of course. So we have now the radius, and then we have the angle. And the angle is basically math.pi with caps locks divided by 180. So what we're really doing here, because 1 pi is equal to a half circle. So 2 pi would be equal to 2, or to 1 full circle. But a circle is 360 degrees, so that will mean that this math pi, which is a half circle, equals 180 degrees of a circle, which is just 50% of the circle. Alright, we have this, and I'm going to use them right now to draw a simple circle. Alright, so to do this, what we're going to do here now is start looking at our circle. I guess we can do it, or we can do it even later on, I realize, because we have to make a if statement or a loop where we loop through every data set here, eventually through this here, to these data sets individually. So what we could do then first is, before we even do that, what I want to do is I want to grab here the first text, because this text should not be looped. I'm going to avoid the looping on 25 years because it's the bottom here. That's simple. We can grab that one easily. So let's say here title text. Title text, we're going to say a ctx.font. And the font we're going to, this is basically the font style. We're going to say a bolder. And I'm going to say here, I guess, 13 pixels. And then Arial. Alright, so once we have this, what I want to do here, next one is the ctx.fill style to give the font a color. And let's make this simply gray. And then once we have this, what I want to do here is figuring out what is exactly the text we need. So what we're going to do here, first of all, I'm going to say ctx.fill text. And here's the fill text. I'm going to say here test, or let's say year ABC. Alright. Then what I want to do here, comma, and then we have to get the x and the y position. So the x and y position we need to figure out. So how do we get these positions? Well, luckily, if you look here up, and this is the most tricky part, is we have this one here. Of course, we could be automating it a little bit more, but in this case, I have ignored that for now. So we have just hard-coded numbers. And eventually, I will make a very nice soft-coded version of this. So let's say 450, and then, well, that will mean this. If I have here, then you can see the rectangle will be 450. And then, well, maybe 10 pixels down. Or something like that. Or, well, let's do 62.5. Let's do 12.5 pixels down. And then what I need to do here, oh sorry, to the, not down, this is to the right side. And then the next one, what I want to do here, well, let's make this 150 for now. Let's save that and refresh. See what happens. If I do this, you can see here ABC, or year ABC. So we're getting close, but I want to go down. And how many pixels? Well, I could go down about 20 pixels, let's say 72 pixels. Refresh. Go on here. Alright, so that looks alright. That's quite acceptable, looks quite nice. And we could maybe put it a bit higher, but that's alright. For me right now, I think that is a good starting point. So now what we need then here is to get the proper text. Oh, we have the text here. But what I want to do, and let's make sure, is we want to put in the baseline in the center or middle. So it's not text aligned, but the baseline of it. So we're going to say here, let's do that one first, ctx, to push it a bit more in the center or in the middle point. So we say here, let's see, what is this, baseline, or text baseline, that's the one, text baseline. And then here we're going to say middle, semicolon, save, refresh. Alright, so did it even move? I have hard time to say, but let's assume it did a little bit. So next, what I want to do here is I want to grab the text, and the text will be based on, you can see our tooltip here, year 5. If I go here on the black tooltip, you see year 6. So basically, that year 6 must be shown instead of year ABC. So that's what we're going to do now. So how do we do this? Well, let me go back here. We have this tooltip active information. I'm going to remove this here, and it's going to say here, I guess we could even leave that in there, I realize, but that's alright. Let's save that and refresh. Hover over it, alright. Once we hover over it, you can see here we get information, and what we get is also the index. And this index will be very, very useful for us, because the index would match also with this indexes here. Everything here has the same index structuring. So I'm going to say a dot, this is just dot index. If I save that, refresh, move over, you see number 4, number 3, and you can see it loops multiple times, and the reason why is because of the tooltip effect from the black one. So if I move away, it might work as well, although it doesn't. It's more when it's being shown here in the tooltip. Anyway, doesn't matter. What we need here is basically this. We have this now. We know the number when we hover. But what I want to grab now is the data. Specifically here in the data in year. How do we get there? Well, basically if you go and look here down at the bottom, we have here config or my chart, and then we go here. From here we can basically go directly into the data. And then from data, we go to the labels. Alright, so that would mean here, let's do a console log. Console log. Then we say here, chart, or this can be chart because we have here as well the chart object. It's this one here. So we say the chart, and we say dot data. Let's save that and see where we get. Then there we are. We get now the data sets, and then I want to get just the index and then the label. So how do we get that? Well, we get here. This is the specific index. I'm going to copy this, put it in here, and say dot label. Save. And then am I correct? Label. That will be there. And then that will be the data set here. I think that is not even the one. Sorry. Not in the data sets. We need to be in here. Sorry, forgive me. We need this one here, the years. That's here at the bottom. Not the one here that would say red or blue. We don't want that. So we're going back here. Chart.data. So it is chart. And then here labels. Data.labels with an S. Then here, this should not be like that. Why? We have here basically two items. Am I correct? So we have the data sets here. We can just go directly to the labels. Let's see. What am I doing here? Alright, so I'm getting slightly confused. Let's try again. Sorry. Alright, so we go here. And then just say labels. That's the one. Sorry. Dot labels. And then here, of course, we get the index. This is the index here. Save that. Refresh. Alright, move over it. Year 5, year 4, and year 3. You can see. So now, let's put that in year ABC. So I'm going to grab this, cut out this, put it in there. Save that. Delete this. Refresh. You can see here now, our tooltip is showing year 4, 5, 3, 2, 1, etc., etc. Beautiful. So now we have that. The next part, well, let's look at it. What do we need more now? Let's go back here. Next part would be this one here. You're just saying the buying will save you X amount of Singaporean dollars or currency, whatever country you are. So we're going to solve that now. To do that, what we need to do here is we need basically to loop through this, because why? I need to get more specifically the values here. You can see 104 and $100. So right now, red is still more expensive than blue. But the moment we hit here in year 6, red is starting to show that we're saving money, while blue is clearly showing an increase of expense. So this is what we're going to do now. We need to compare these two numbers. So you have to be able to see these numbers and say how much we're saving if we do this. And what I want to do is I will say what we have here. Buying will save you X amount. But if we are before the data set, I will say renting will save you X amount. So that's what we're going to do now. So to do this, we're going to work with a for loop. So we're going to say here, to do the for loop, I need to grab this here. Copy this, scroll down here. You say here tooltip._active, and then what I want to do here, I don't put in the index number, but I say dot for each. We're going to use a for each, so you can loop through all of these data sets individually. So then what I'm going to say here, let's say double parentheses, we put in here a callback or a arrow function expression, like this, and then we're going to say here the following. We want to have this data set, and then we also have the index, because both of them will be necessary later on. Then curly braces, and then in here, what we're going to do is the following. We're going to start working on a few items. Well, let's first of all do a console log on the data set, and you will see that the data set is still identical to the active here. Save, refresh. And then if I hover over it, and you can see here now, but now instead of showing both indexes at the same time, we are now basically in one of those data sets. And then here we can go in the other data set. You can see data set 1, and this is data set 0. Alright, so this is very important for us. And what I really want to have here is basically the specific one, which is the index here, the index x, or basically the index. That would indicate wherever we would hover over one of these indexes. So what I'm going to say here, I'm just going to give this a name, const data point. This data point will be data set.index. Alright. So now if we have that, we should be able to see here console log. Let me show you what this really means. Save that, refresh. Hover over an item. We can see here now we're on index 5, 4, let's say here, what is this? Index 6, should be this is 0, yes. Then here 1, 2. Alright, so this gives us a lot of information and help on which array we need to extract later on. So that's what we're going to do afterwards. So in here, what I want to do now is let's start to, I guess we can just start to write something, but what we need to do is an if statement. This if statement I want to do because this is it. We're looping through this, but this text here, in essence, should only be written once. Why would we write it twice? So what I want to do is an if statement and say if index is equal 0, right? If index is beyond 0, then don't write anymore, then ignore. Only write on the first index element, which is 0. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to say here the following. Index equals strict, which is triple equals, and then in here what I want to do is, well, we need to get a few items. I want to say first of all we can calculate probably the differences between these 2 points. As you can see here, we have 1.3 million, and this here the difference. So this is the value matching per item, and then they calculate the difference. So what I want to do here is create a constant, and let's say this is the diff, or the difference, and this difference is basically where, how do we get this data? Well, we get that by comparing this with this, or this buying the house minus renting house. So I'm going back here, and then all I want to do here is go to chart.data sets 0. Remember that's this here. We go into what is that? It starts here from chart, and then data. The data here will go directly into this constant of data, and then we say data sets, and then we say here data 0. And then not data 0, data set 0. That's the first one. Where are we? Let's scroll down. That's this one here. Data set 0, and then here dot the data, but our data will be based on the data point here, whatever we hover on. So here, index that. That's the first one. And then we say here minus the same value, except now index number 1. So once we have this, save that, we can do here a console log for diff. Let's save that and then refresh here. Alright, so unexpected token on 125. That is, I guess, this one here. This chart.data. So let's save. Unexpected identifier. Alright, so we have here this. So let's see what's going on here. Probably I'm missing something. Let's see here. Are we having curly braces? There we are. There we are. And this one is related to what exactly? There. So I'm not sure if this one had any value. If I save that, refresh. No, 126 console log div. Alright. Save that. Alright, just give me a minute, I'll just check what's the issue. Alright, I saw the problem, so watch out. This one here, I'm going to just highlight it. I deleted it, put it back the parentheses. Alright. Secondly here, the data point had no bracket. So I didn't notice that one, so save that, refresh. Alright, so now it works nicely, and if you hover over it, we still are just on the same position, but we have now a new item, which is our div. So we do console log, let's calculate if we see any difference here. Save that, refresh, hover over it. We can see here, console log 4. Alright, so you can see a -5 or -15, and you can see here it will be -36. So what we could do here, alright, so this is all fine, and I guess what we can start doing now is start to look at what are the options now, or what's next what we have to do, because basically we have now the values here, say 1 here, 80, and this, etc, etc. Alright, so let's look at it if this is later well calculated. So but what I want to do now is basically this. I want to start putting the text in there, and the text that we need will be, well, let me show you, this one here. The buying will save you X amount of dollars. So in here, let's do that one immediately. We're going to say first of all a font. So say here, this should be the title text as well still, or is it, this should be the loop or comparison text. Alright, so we say ctx dot font, and then this font will be bolder and 15 pixels, and this will be Arial, semicolon. Then we're going to say a ctx dot fill style, this can be black. So this is a string, remember that. And then we say a black. Alright, and once we have this, what I want to do here is a ctx dot text align, and we can do this one on the left. And this of course is a quotation as well. So then we have this one, and then what I want to do here is the following. I want to have a drawing of the text, so we can say here ctx dot fill text, and the fill text will be no, we can say here, let's do this one first, and let's see, I guess buying will save you, and we can say here Singapore dollars, and then we can put in here, I guess, the item itself, what is the value, the div. So I'm going to copy this, and then what we need to do here is a proper concatenation. I'll put a space here, and then we say plus that. Alright, so if I save this, ctx fill, that looks good. Save, refresh. Go here. Alright, so fill to execute fill text. Alright. Fill text. Because I can see here as well, fill, that's not allowed. Fill text, I think this should be fine now. Or is it text fill? No, the fill text is fine. Oh, alright. So what is the issue here? Sorry, I know that it's getting late, I'm not paying attention. So what is the issue? The issue is two things. I need the X and Y coordinates. So where are we going to position it? So to make it easy, I just want it very close to the other one, but I want this one. Same here. I'm going to copy this. And then here for the Y value, I'm going to say this one. And then we can just say here plus this here 15 or plus X amount, let's say 92 or 95, that makes it nice. We save this, and then we're going to refresh. Alright, as you can see, we have a problem here. A undesirable problem. Buying will save you, and the text is far too big. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a nice trick for that. I'm going to reduce this text size. So to do this, what I want to do here is, but I also want to immediately do an if statement. Say, what about if we have renting? Because right now, everywhere we hover over it, it will always suggest buying. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, instead of buying, I'm going to say as well renting. And then what we need to do as well is the text putting it down. So to do that, I'm going to use a quite nifty trick here. So I'm going to say here the following. If div, and I'm going to say here, is lower than 0, which is basically negative value, in that case, what I want to say here, is, we can say here, the text, I guess here, constant text, or is that? Let me double check. We can do here, I guess, maybe an array. Probably make more sense. Let's say a constant. And this or sorry, not constant, it's a let. Let me do compare text. And this is compare text. Make this one here. Alright, so it's basically blank. But here, what I will say here is compare text will be equal to an array. And this array will say if it's below 0, we're going to compare it based on the point of view of the buying property. So we're going to say renting will save, alright, comma, and I'm going to say here, and I'm going to use here backtick, so it's template literals, different from here because this is just a pure string. This one is a backtick literals. And then I'm going to say here save you, and then maybe we should have some space here, or it doesn't matter. Save you SGD, and here I want to know how much did we save. So $, this, and I'm going to get here the difference. I want to know what's the difference. Semicolon. And then else, going back here, do the same. Copy this, but then here I'll say buying will save you this, but to do this one here, well, let's save that and refresh and see how this looks like. Alright, so this will save you this 23. Alright, so here you can see something is wrong here. Buying will save, buying will save. It says always buying and it never says renting. So let's see here the difference. The difference should be X amount. This, let me just check. Alright, so when I look at it immediately, I glance over it, I see it. Sorry about that. I have here still a hard-coded text, remember. So let's copy this. I want to put in this. Say here this, but then we say here, just very simple. This will be index 0. And then what I want to do, the second line is going to copy this and duplicate this line. And this will be index 1. So basically this will show here, that one will show there. So this one needs to be pushed down as well. So let's do this also 20 pixels. So say 215. Save that, refresh, hover. Now you say buying will save you, and then this one will say renting will save you. Alright, you can see I have exactly the opposite. So this should be renting or renter. And then if difference equals 0. So what happened here? Why is this like that? Then most likely I should compare 1 with 0. Refresh. Oh, there we are. Renting will save you that. Alright, that is correct. And here, buying will save you this amount. So you can see here the negative. And that's fine. We're going to solve this right now. So how do we solve the negative? You can see in here, let me close this, and then I'm just going to get the charger. I'm going to say math.abs, and I'm going to put in this. So what does ABS do? Basically the following. It will convert any value, because ABS stands for absolute value. So any value, it will grab the value only, the absolute value. So there will be, all the negatives will be removed. So let's save that, refresh. Alright, hover over this. Now, 5 years, oh sorry, go down here. You can see renting will save you $4, $23, and here $80. Alright, so this is fine. Alright, so once we did that, you can see here now we get the positive values. That looks nice. So now we're almost done, because what we need to do is to do the circle, and then we have to next to the circle also the matching text. So let's look how that looks like. You get here the color. In this case I will just get the red one on top. Why? Because red one is the first line here. If you want the blue one on top, we could convert the data sets basically here, swap this up and down, but doesn't matter. That's really not the real issue. The real issue will be, can we draw the circle, can we get the text, and can we get here the value? Alright, so let's do that. And in here, going back here, go down here, and then We are here. Alright, so we have this. I assume you already did this one as well, so you should have that done. I'm going to remove the div because we don't need this div anymore, or at least the console div. We don't need that one. And then we're going down here. So we have the comparison text is done. The next one is drawing the circle. So we're going to make the circle. Remember we had the preparation here above. So I realized why we have to do this one is basically we want to avoid this being in the loop here. So we can just prepare it here in advance. And after we can just extract that one. So what we're going to do here now, ctx.begin path to start again a drawing. And then what I want to do is the following. I'm going to say a ctx.fill style. For now I will make this black again. And later on I'll show you how we extract the exact color matching with our chart data or data set. Now we're going to say here ctx.arc, which is basically a command for the circle. And then we're going to start to figure out, if you hover over it, where are we going to draw the arc. So what I want to do is I want to be very nice in line with the year, and you see the renting and the U, the first letter, or before the first character, that line there. If we look very carefully, this line should be about 462.5. Alright, so that's what we need to do. We need to get our position. So, remember our arc here is 7.5 pixels. And that's the half. So this arc, or the radius, one time plus this makes 470. So that's what we do. So basically here we say radius plus 462, which is our starting point, is the first x value. Then the y value. So then the y value, what I want to do is I want to give it some extra space here. Similar with this, we have some space here between. So the y value, I'll just give it a certain value. Let's say 245. So if I save this, or not yet, we're not done yet, sorry. Then we say here radius. That's a standard command. So radius and then the angle. And the angle will be from 0. So it's multiplied by from 0 degrees. Then we make a full 360. Then we say here angle multiplied by 360 degrees. So it's a full circle. So you cannot do 0 to 0 if not, it will not move at all because it doesn't recognize. So and then finally we're going to set this on false, which is the counterclockwise. By the way, if you want to understand how to make these kind of arcs and everything, check out my Canvas API series here on YouTube. It covers a lot of it. So once we did this, I'm going to say the following. I'm going to say a ctx.fill. If I save this, I'm going to refresh. And then let's hover over it. Alright, so you can see here, and most likely we have duplicated it twice, but they're on top of each other. So what I want to do here is I want to make sure that we have no duplication on the height. So I'm going to say here plus. And then the plus will be 25 multiplied by our index. We go back here up. The index, remember, we're still within this entire loop. We're still in here. Just grab this index for every data set. For every data set that we have, plus 25 multiplied by index. I'm going to say this and that. Save that. Refresh. Alright, so now let's check. Alright, it surprised me that it doesn't show anything at all. This one plus that. Why are we not working? Index. Let's see. Let me double check what is our index. Is our index not showing or am I missing something? Save that, refresh, hover over it. Alright, we have index 0 and 5, am I correct? Oh, sorry, of course. So I have to check here because I think we have two issues here. We have this index here. Where are we? This one. And then do we have somewhere else the index as well being referred to? No, not at all. Alright, so that will be interesting. So let me see, what am I missing in here? What is this? 141. Alright, oh, this is 141. Index. We will only show index 0. Alright, hold on, I will just check quickly. Alright, I figured it out, and this is tricky and I didn't pay attention here. So what is it? Because remember we have this if here. This will only block us from only making one item. But what happened, I didn't pay attention on this. what I wanted to block was basically only one item here, including the compare text, this part here. And what I did was I blocked everything. That's why we only have one circle being drawn here. So we have this here. I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to put it in there. Alright? So that's very important. So the compare text will be here. Well, this here, this is a for each loop. So this one blocks the for each. So let me say here, blocks the double printing of text. But this is only once. This one can be removed here, the console log, just to keep it clean. Then we have here the circle, but this circle must be looped. So I'm going to say here, loop circle. So you understand what I mean. Save. And if I refresh now, let's look at it. There we are. So we have two items here. And they are circles, exactly as what we wanted here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in the text. We have the text here, and then we have also the numbers. So now it will become easier. And then of course we need to have the colors here. So don't worry, I'm going to get these colors as well. Or maybe let's do the colors first. So how do we get the color here? Well, we have the fill text here of the loop circle. And what I want to do here is to get the specific color. And for that, I need to go here into the data set. I guess we can do this here above. Console log. We say here data set. And if you're wondering where I get this data set again, remember, we're still in the for each. The data set is equal to tooltip._active. So I'm going to save that. So if I refresh here, I should see here now, if I hover over an item, this here, then we get here the data set, and then go down here. What I want here is basically one thing in the element. We're going to grab here in the options. Then we go down here, you can see here the background color and the border color. Because both our background and border color are identical, I just get the border color. However, if you would have a different structure, then background color and border color can be extracted both. So that's up to you. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to say here, now we have the fill style. Alright. This will be eventually this. So how do we get there? Well, let's move over to just check. We have to go to elements.options.border color. Alright, so that will be here. Element.options.border color. And that's it. Cut out this. Replace this. And then we're going to save and see what will happen. Refresh. There we are. So now we get the colors and it starts to look absolutely phenomenal. Now I want the text. And if you move here, you can see here we get every time different items. This is absolutely beautiful. So what I'm going to do is next. Instead of the loop circle, now I'm going to say loop text label or text label of the circle. So then what I want to do here is the following. First of all, we're going to say the font design. So ctx.font equals. Let's make this bold. This is a string, of course, and let's say bolder. Then we're going to say 15 pixels, and this is again Arial. And then what I want to do here is, of course, ctx.fill style for the color. This will equal black. And once I did that, and what I want to do here is I want to say here, well, what we want to have here is the text. So let me just grab this, say .ctx or ctx.fill text. Alright, so this here, I'll just put some question marks for now, and then we're just going to work on the positioning. So our positioning should be a little bit lower compared to what we have here. So basically we had here the item, then but it should be matched with that. So what we need to do here is this item basically could be just duplicated. That's alright. But what we need to have here is what I want to say here is we're going to, you can see the text, it needs to go push to the right side. That's the most important. As you can see here, it goes to the right. So this here, which is the arc radius, plus, and then we say also plus another value. Remember, this was 7.5, the arc radius. So basically, this is equal to 470 pixels. So 470 pixels, so basically this, plus, well, to make it easy, I'll just do here 470, plus and I'll just say here, I'll just make a text here, 470 px is radius plus 462.5. Alright, so you know this. Plus what? So what we're going to do here, maybe, I guess, plus 15 pixels, because it's 7.5 pixels to radius, so the diameter is 15 pixels. So plus 15, so we have like that. And then what I want to do here is basically whatever we have here, the height. We're going to copy this. Once I have this, I'm going to put that in there, and then will be basically our item. If I save this, this is the fill text as well. Oh, sorry, where's our fill text here? I realized that I deleted that. Let's make it a question mark. Save that. Refresh. Hover over it. Interesting. I'm not seeing it, so let me double check what's going on here. Fill style equals black font. Fill text. All right, that is correct. Fill text. Fill style. What am I missing here? That is not working. So we have this plus that. Did I save it? Let me double check. Save, refresh. Alright, so hold on, I will just check. Alright, so I checked it and it's really bad from my side, and I really noticed that I'm probably too exhausted. That's why I'm struggling with it. Alright, so what is the issue here? Remember, the fill text only has 3 parameters. Basically the text, X, Y. And what am I doing here, of course, is I have 1, 2, 3, 4 items, and that's of course forbidden. So we have this one here, the 470 plus 15, that is the X value. So the Y value is, let's see here, that's this one was apparently from the, what I copied here from the radius, so that's my bad. So we have this, and then we have this one here, which is basically, this is the X value, or the Y value. Which is correct, that needs to increment. So if I save this now, let's delete this. Save, refresh. Hover over it, there we are. So we get this here, we could maybe, if I look at the text very carefully, we might want to put maybe the text 1 pixel down, but it's okay. For now it's alright. So we'll just leave it for now. Or maybe just put 1 down here, just to make it look a little bit more precise. That looks really better. Alright. Of course it's quite hard to see, but anyway. So what we're going to do now is, how do we get that matching text here? That will be very, very important. So what I'm going to do here is the matching text, we need to extract that. So how do we get that? Well, basically, the following. Let's do another console log. I'm going to grab this console log here, put it down, say here, and then we say here chart.data. And basically, if we save that and refresh, we should be able to imagine how we go there. Chart.data to data sets, and then from data sets here, we can get the specific label. That's this one here. So not the labels, but the label itself. We use the by red or by house, and blue was the rental. So we're going to say here this, then dot data sets. And here, of course, we're going to do index because we are still in the for each loop. Remember that we're still in the loop. Then we say here dot data, and then here, what do we need here is the data point. And the data point, or sorry, not even the data point, we can get here the label, of course. The label, that's this one, not the data point. That's later on. So we have this one here. Alright, so once we have this here, if I save this, refresh, hover, blue, red, as you can see, it loops through nicely. Alright, copy this entire text, put it in there, save that, refresh. There we are. So now we have this. We're still not done because we still need to have the final item here, which is the number. So we can do that one also quite quick. So what I'm going to do here is the following. We're going to create here now the final item. I'm going to say here again CTX font. We can just do this exact same, or well, basically this is already done here, so we don't have to do really. We can just latch onto this values, and all I want to do here is just make a new text with new information here, and of course new information in here. So what I want to do is the following. And then what I want to do here is the opposite of what I did in here. So you can see here, when we started, was here on the side, the year. But now what I want to do, I want to go here in the corner. So what I want to, I do want to have space here, identical. So I guess that's about, if I'm not mistaken, it should be 12 and a half pixels, but I will give the other side, I'll give only 10 pixels. They will just fit with our text here. So what I'm going to do here is the following. We have this, and then let's see what's the ending, of course. Our ending is, at the right side, 600, so 600 minus 10 pixels is 500. Alright, so that will be our item here, or 590. That's it. Here we'll have the text. I'll just go to put the question mark for now. And then we have this, and then this should be probably the same. If I save this, refresh, hover over it. Alright. Now we get this here, but you can see it moves out of the way. And the reason why is because of the left position. So text align left means it starts at that pixel going to the right, and everything at the left will be ignored. So what I want to do is text align right side. So that's probably the only thing I need to solve here. CTX that text align equals right, save, refresh. Alright, let's look. And alright, so I guess here, well, I thought I can do it maybe clever with this. We're not able to do it because Y is starting to create here our issue. So what I can say here, or maybe what we could do here, very simple. We force this one left, save that, and this one we force right. Let's see, beautiful. Alright, now this works, final item, and that is the number. So how do we do this? So in here, exactly the same as previously, let's do a console log. And in the console log, I'm going to just grab all of this data here. We can just borrow most of it, except now, I'm going to delete this. Now what I want to do here, I just say here, data, and then here we're going to get whatever we hover over it. Remember, when we did this, let's go up here. We had this data point ready, like what we did here. Now I can copy this, scroll down, put it in there. Save this, refresh. Alright, so if I hover over, you can see here we get the values. And now we can just cut this out, put it in there, delete this, save this, refresh. And then, alright, I see we have something undesirable here. And this is because of the year, it also being moved. So what I want to do here, position that to the text align left as well. Let's say year 5, or the year that is the title top. Title text, baseline middle, that is fine. But here, CTX dot, that here, text align will be left. Save that, refresh. There we are. So now this works. You can see 104 and 100 matching with our tooltip as well here above, the black tooltip and the white tooltip. And you can see here everything works nicely. Let's see, do we need to still have something here? There's no columns. Alright, so everything else here works nicely. And this is basically how you create your tooltip. So final item here is let's delete the other tooltip, or not delete, just hide it. In here, in the options, plugins, in the plugins, and then we say here tooltip, then we say here tooltip enable equals false. Save that, refresh, and there we are. So you can see here even the calculation is correct because 100 minus or 104 minus 100 equals 4. Renting is good. Here buying will be better. Here again buying will be better. And that's basically how to create a complete custom item here. Of course, we could do still a lot more by moving this depending on where we are, but I decided not to do that for now. Just put in a white position here because it's required a certain level of thinking and complexity. However, this is really how you can do this one. So if you enjoyed this video and maybe you want to do more the other items, because I have, if you look back on here on this picture, we have still even more. There is like here a line going here, that's a hover line, and this one is a break even line here. maybe you want to know how to do that. In that case, I would highly recommend you to watch this specific video here, which is basically how to create a horizontal line or horizontal hover lines and break even line in Chart.js. And basically those two together creates the final result that you see here on the picture. So they're somehow connected with each other, but they're individualized so that you can do one or the other if you desire.